In the tapestry of life, each thread is woven with purpose, though often hidden from our immediate understanding. We stand at the crossroads of uncertainty, gazing into the horizon of our futures, and yet there's a profound truth we must embrace. Not everything is within our control. The rhythm of our lives, the unfolding of events, and the timing of our experiences are often beyond our grasp. Consider the seasons of the year. No matter how much we desire, we cannot hasten the arrival of spring or delay the onset of winter. Each season comes in its own time, bringing with it unique challenges and blessings. Similarly, our lives unfold in seasons, each with its own timing. In our fast-paced world, we often seek immediate results. We want answers now, solutions at our fingertips, and progress without delay. Yet, there are moments when we must pause and reflect, allowing time to reveal its wisdom. For instance, consider the process of growing a tree. It doesn't sprout fully grown. It takes time to develop roots, to reach toward the sky, and to bear fruit. Similarly, our personal growth and understanding require patience and trust in the process. It's easy to become disheartened when things don't go as planned. We may question why opportunities elude us or why challenges persist. However, it's in these moments of waiting that we often learn the most. The lessons of perseverance, resilience, and faith are cultivated in the soil of adversity. Reflecting on the journey of a river can offer insight. A river doesn't rush to its destination. It meanders, carving its path through the landscape. Along the way, it nourishes the land, supports life, and eventually reaches the sea. Our lives, too, may take unexpected turns, but each twist and turn contributes to our growth and understanding. In times of uncertainty, it's essential to trust that there is a larger plan at work. Just as the earth knows when to rest and when to bloom, our lives have rhythms that, when followed, lead us to where we need to be. Embracing this rhythm requires letting go of the need for control and allowing life's natural flow to guide us. As we navigate our paths, let us remember that not everything is meant to be understood immediately. Some answers come with time, and some questions are meant to be pondered. In the meantime, let us live with patience, trust, and an open heart, knowing that in due time all things will unfold as they should. Life, like the turning of the earth, moves in season. There's a rhythm to it that doesn't ask our permission, doesn't wait for our schedules, doesn't yield to our demands. And this rhythm, mysterious and precise, is something far bigger than us. We don't plant seeds in the winter and expect a harvest in the spring without first going through the cold, through the frost, through the stillness. The ground knows when to rest. The trees know when to let go. The wind knows when to carry the scent of change, and still, we, the most conscious of creatures, resist the season we are in, as if we can pull summer out of a hat in the middle of January. But there's wisdom in the waiting. There's something sacred about moving through time as it was meant to be moved through, not rushed, not dragged, just walked, step by step. Some seasons are for planting. You get your hands dirty. You invest time, energy, and faith into something that hasn't yet revealed itself. You dig in the dirt with the belief that something will come from it, even if the ground stays silent for a long while. It's a quiet kind of hope, not flashy, not loud, just steady. It's a belief that the season you're in is not wasted, even if there are no results to show just yet. Then come the seasons of growth, the kind where everything seems to be moving. Blossoms appear, opportunities rise, things click, you feel alive, you feel seen. These are the moments we live for, the chapters we love to write about. But we don't always recognize that they were made possible by the silence of the seasons before them. The bloom didn't happen without the root. The visible didn't show up without the invisible work that came long before it. And even in these seasons of abundance, there is still timing we don't control. Crops ripen on their own schedule. The sun doesn't stay high forever. Even the best moments move on, and just when we think we've figured out the pattern, another season comes. One we didn't expect, one that strips away more than it gives. The leaves fall, the branches empty, the nights grow long, and the silence grows louder. We may find ourselves questioning why it's happening. We may beg to return to the warmth of the season we just left, but these seasons of shedding, these moments of surrender, are just as necessary, because it's in those quiet times, those cold stretches, that we are being readied again. Not punished, not forgotten, but prepared. The soil must be broken before new seeds can be planted again. The old must fall to make space for the new. Time has its own wisdom, and it teaches us if we let it. We don't learn the strength of a tree by looking at its blossoms. We learn it by watching it survive the winter, by watching it stand tall in storms, by witnessing it lose everything and still remain rooted. And our lives are not so different. We are shaped by seasons we didn't choose, formed by timing we didn't plan, strengthened by waiting we didn't want, but each season holds a gift, even if it's one we won't recognize until later. Think about how many times you've wanted something to happen, right now, immediately, without delay, and yet when it didn't, when you were forced to wait, forced to adapt, forced to grow, what happened to you in the meantime? Maybe you learned patience. Maybe you learned to see the beauty in stillness. Maybe you found strength you didn't know you had. The truth is, timing often protects us more than it denies us. Not getting what we want when we want it isn't always a loss. Sometimes it's a lesson. Sometimes it's a redirection. Sometimes it's grace in disguise. There is a rhythm in the waiting, a beat that is soft but steady, a pulse that carries you even when you feel like nothing is moving. It's there in the background, reminding you that just because you can't see, it doesn't mean it's not working. Just because the seed is under the soil doesn't mean it's not alive. And that's the kind of trust we're called to lean into, not blind optimism, but deep, grounded trust. Trust that knows the value of the unseen. Trust that honors the process, even when the process is uncomfortable. We don't question the seasons in nature because we've come to understand their place. We know why the trees let go. We know why the flowers wait. We know the importance of rest, of hibernation, of dormancy, and yet, in our own lives, we treat waiting like failure. We treat slow progress like no progress. We treat quiet days like wasted days. But what if those are the very days that build us? What if the stillness is what teaches us to listen, to breathe, to notice things we'd otherwise rush past? There's a beauty in trusting the timing, in embracing the season you're in even if it doesn't look the way you thought it would. There's peace in knowing you're not late, not early, but right where you're supposed to be. We all carry calendars in our minds, deadlines, expectations, milestones, but life doesn't always follow our script. It doesn't fit neatly into our timelines, and maybe that's okay. Maybe what we need isn't more control, but more surrender. Maybe what we need isn't more speed, but more stillness. Maybe the season you're in isn't meant to move faster. Maybe it's meant to shape you right where you are. In the end, the seasons come and go, but they always come with purpose. No season is without meaning. No moment is without movement, even if it feels like nothing is happening. The seed is growing, the roots are deepening, the path is unfolding, and all of it, every single part, is happening right on time. There's something about growth that fools us into thinking it should be fast, visible, and always upward, but real growth, deep, lasting, meaningful growth, is rarely any of those things. It doesn't follow a straight line. It doesn't come with a warning or a countdown. It happens in the quiet, in the dark, in the places we often overlook, and it almost always takes more time than we want it to. We live in a world obsessed with instant results, overnight success, quick fixes. But anything that truly lasts, anything that matters, anything that changes us from the inside out takes time to build. Think about the process of becoming. A seed planted in the soil doesn't sprout a tree in a day. It breaks open underground unseen. It struggles first in darkness before it ever reaches toward the light. And even then, when it does push through the surface, it's fragile, vulnerable, dependent on the right conditions, the right support. Growth isn't just about adding to ourselves. It's about becoming strong enough to stand. And that kind of strength is forged over time, not in a hurry, not with shortcuts, but slowly, steadily, with each small, unseen moment of resistance and resilience. People often look at the result, at the tree that finally blooms, the person who seems to have it all together, the success that catches the eye, and forget what it took to get there. They forget the years in the wilderness, the days of doubt, the hours of practice, the times of failure. They forget that behind every strong person is a story of struggle. Behind every breakthrough is a stretch of silence where nothing seemed to be working. But it always was, because growth doesn't stop just because we can't see it. You can water a plant every day and still not see it grow right away, but that doesn't mean the roots aren't stretching deep, anchoring it for the storms to come. In the same way, when we invest in ourselves, when we do the hard work of healing, of learning, of waiting, we may not see immediate change, but we're being rooted, we're being prepared, we're being equipped for the weight of the next season. And sometimes what feels like stagnation is actually preparation in disguise. Sometimes the pause is a process. We're conditioned to celebrate the finished product, but the truth is, the process matters more. Because the process is where we become. It's where our character is shaped. It's where we learn how to handle what we've asked for. If we received everything we wanted the moment we wanted it, we wouldn't be ready. It might crush us instead of build us. Growth gives us what we need to carry the weight of our blessings, and sometimes the weight is the gift. There's a reason why old trees don't fall when the wind howls. They've grown slowly, layer by layer, ring by ring, year after year. They've stood through seasons. They've endured droughts. They've been broken and mended. That kind of endurance doesn't happen overnight. It's earned over time, and we, too, earn our strength through the days we didn't quit. Through the times we kept going, even when it felt like nothing was changing. Every time we showed up, kept our heads down, did the work, trusted the process. We were growing, and growth isn't always visible from the outside. It's not always applause worthy. Sometimes it looks like setting a boundary, saying no, getting up again, staying kind when you could be bitter, letting go of what's easy for what's right. That's growth. That's becoming more of who you're meant to be, and those choices, the quiet, consistent behind, the scenes choices, they build a life that can withstand anything. They build a person who doesn't just look strong, but actually is strong. The world may tell you to move faster, to hustle harder, to keep chasing, but speed isn't the measure of success. Depth is, stability is, peace is, and those things come when you slow down and let yourself grow in the time it takes, not in the time you wish it would. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not failing just because the fruit hasn't shown yet. The root is the first proof of life, and it grows in secret. If you're in a season where it feels like nothing is happening, where the waiting is stretching longer than you ever imagined, don't lose heart. Don't discount what's happening beneath the surface. You are becoming someone stronger. You are building something real. The delay is not the death of the dream. It's the shaping of the one who will carry it, and that matters even more. We don't get to choose how long it takes, but we do get to choose how we show up in the waiting. It's in the slow seasons that we develop patience, not the kind that grits its teeth and waits with frustration, but the kind that learns to see beauty in the unfolding, the kind that finds joy in the becoming. Because when you learn to honor the pace of your growth, you learn to love your life even when it's not glamorous. You learn to appreciate the days that feel small because you know they are part of something much bigger. Something good, something worth waiting for. Growth is not about being perfect. It's not about getting it all right. It's about becoming more aligned with the truth of who you are. It's about taking what you've been through and letting it shape you into someone wiser, stronger, more compassionate. It's not easy, and it's not always fun, but it is worth it. Every moment, every lesson, every stretch of silence. So when you feel like you're being held back, remember, maybe you're just being held still long enough to grow the kind of roots that will hold you steady when the winds come. Maybe the slowness isn't punishment, it's protection. Maybe the silence isn't empty, it's sacred, because the most meaningful growth always takes time. And when it finally breaks through the surface, when it finally becomes visible, it won't just be a moment, it'll be the result of everything you carried, everything you learned, everything you became while no one was watching. And certainty is not the enemy, it's part of the journey. It walks beside us whether we want it to or not. It shows up in the waiting rooms of life, in the questions that don't have answers, in the plans that change without notice. We often think that if we can just get everything figured out, mapped, secured, that somehow we'll feel safe, but life doesn't operate in a straight line. It moves in swerves and detours and sudden shifts. And the truth is, if we only move when everything is clear, we might never move at all. We live in a world that values certainty, that celebrates the people who know what they want, who have 5-year plans, who can speak with confidence about what's next. But what about the rest of us? What about the ones who are still trying to figure it out, who are walking roads they never planned to take, who are living in the tension of the unknown? The ones who wake up some days feeling lost but keep going anyway. There's courage in that, quiet courage, the kind that doesn't always get noticed, but builds something strong inside. Uncertainty teaches us to listen. When the path ahead is unclear, we start to pay attention in ways we don't when everything is predictable. We notice the small signs, we take things one step at a time, we learn to live more in the present, not because we're enlightened, but because it's all we've got. That's what uncertainty does. It narrows our focus to what matters most. And sometimes that's where the real transformation happens, not in the moments where everything makes sense, but in the moments where we learn to trust even when it doesn't. There's something sacred about those in-between spaces. They stretch us, they shape us, they remind us that we are not in control of everything, and that maybe, just maybe, that's a gift. Because if we knew every turn, every outcome, every result before it happened, where would the wonder be? Where would the need for faith, for patience, for surrender? It's not in the knowing that we're formed. It's in the not knowing, in the waiting, in the holding on even when we're unsure what we're holding on to. And it's in those uncertain places that we often grow the most, because when we're unsure, we lean into things we might otherwise ignore. We listen deeper, we ask better questions, we look for meaning. We seek guidance, we reach for connection. Uncertainty opens us up. It reminds us that we're not alone, that we don't have to carry everything on our own shoulders. It humbles us, and in that humility, we find wisdom. Not the loud kind, but the kind that comes from experience, from endurance, from walking through the fog and still choosing to move forward. So many people are waiting for clarity before they begin. They're waiting for the perfect moment, the green light, the certainty that things will work out exactly as planned. But the truth is, clarity often comes after the first step, not before. The path reveals itself as you walk it. You don't get a blueprint. You get direction, piece by piece, as you go. And if you're too afraid of uncertainty, you might miss the very thing that was meant for you, because the most meaningful journeys are rarely mapped out in advance. They are discovered. Think about the times in your life when you didn't know what would happen next. Maybe you were starting over. Maybe something ended before you were ready. Maybe a door closed that you thought was meant to stay open. And yet, look where you are. Look at what you've survived. Look at what you've learned. Those uncertain times didn't break you. They built you. They taught you what you were made of. They taught you that you can keep going even when you can't see the full picture. Uncertainty has a way of revealing what we truly believe. When the plans fall apart, when the answers don't come, when the road ahead disappears in the fog, what do we hold on to? What do we return to? That's where our foundation is tested. That's where the depth of our character is exposed, and that's not a bad thing, because sometimes the shake-up is what wakes us up. Sometimes the uncertainty is what forces us to finally let go of illusions we've been clinging to for too long. We often confuse certainty with safety, but they're not the same. You can be in a predictable situation and still feel lost. You can have all the facts and still feel empty. Real safety doesn't come from knowing every detail. It comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes. It comes from believing that even if the plan changes, you'll find your way. That even if the map gets torn, you can still walk forward. That even in the dark, you're not walking alone, and there's freedom in that. There's a strange kind of peace in releasing the need to know everything. When you stop demanding clarity before you move, you start to live differently. You stop waiting and start experiencing. You stop overthinking and start engaging. You realize that life doesn't have to be predictable to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be certain to be worth living. Some of the best things come out of the most uncertain places. Relationships, discoveries, second chances, new beginnings. We think uncertainty is the absence of progress, but it's often the birthplace of change. It's the space where transformation begins, where the old is being stripped away and the new is being formed. It's uncomfortable, yes, sometimes even painful, but it's also where potential lives, where possibilities we never considered begin to take shape. The waiting might feel like nothing is happening, but it's often the most important part of the journey. So when you're walking through uncertainty, don't rush to escape it. Don't try to numb it or ignore it. Sit with it, listen to it, let it teach you, let it stretch you, let it show you what really matters. Because this space, this hard, unclear, in-between space, might be the very place where your next chapter begins. Not with answers, but with questions. Not with clarity, but with courage. Not with a plan, but with a heart willing to keep going, even when the way forward is still unfolding. There comes a point where trying to control everything just becomes exhausting. The constant planning, the overthinking, the endless attempts to manage outcomes, it wears you down, because no matter how tightly you hold the reins, life still finds a way to do what it wants. People still leave, plans still fall through, timing still shifts, and in that moment, when all the pieces slip from your grip, you realize something. Maybe control was never the goal in the first place. Maybe peace isn't found in mastering the moment, but in learning how to live within it, even when it doesn't go your way. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you stop trying to force life into your schedule. When you stop treating every delay as a failure and every change as a threat. When you begin to see that life, in all its messiness and unpredictability, is not against you. It's simply unfolding, not by your calendar, not by your clock, but by something deeper, something wiser. And the more you fight it, the more anxious you become. But when you release the grip, when you stop trying to control the timing of every single thing, you start to breathe again. Control is an illusion that promises comfort, but rarely delivers. We think if we can just get everything lined up perfectly, if we can just plan enough, prepare enough, predict enough, then we'll finally feel safe. But safety doesn't come from certainty, it comes from surrender. From being okay, even when things don't go as planned, from knowing that your worth isn't based on your productivity, your timeline, or your performance. It comes from letting go of the outcome and choosing to be present in the process. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying or sit back passively and hope everything works out. Letting go means loosening your grip on the things you can't control and focusing on the things you can. Your attitude, your response, your choices. It means accepting that you're not in charge of the clock, that you can do all the right things and still have to wait, that the outcome isn't always in your hands, but your peace can be. There's something powerful about choosing to trust the process, even when it's slow, even when it's different from what you expected. There's strength in being able to say, I don't understand this right now, but I trust that it's doing something in me. That kind of trust doesn't come easy. It's learned, it's practiced, it's built over time in the waiting, in the quiet, in the unknown. And once you have it, it changes the way you live. You stop living with a clenched jaw and a racing heart. You start living with open hands and a steady breath. It's not weakness to surrender control, it's wisdom, because you can only carry so much. And the truth is, a lot of the things we try to carry aren't even ours to begin with. We carry expectations, pressures, fears about the future, regrets from the past, and all of it weighs us down. But when you let go of the need to control, you start to travel lighter, you start to walk with more peace. You begin to realize that your life is not a problem to be solved, but a story to be lived. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need every answer before you move forward. You're allowed to trust the steps, even when you can't see the path. You're allowed to believe that something good can come from what feels like a mess, that beauty can grow from broken places, that timing you didn't choose can still lead you to places you were always meant to be. The need to control will always whisper that you're behind, that you're missing out, that if you don't act now, you'll lose everything. But that voice isn't telling the truth, because the things that are truly meant for you, the moments that are truly yours, they don't need to be forced. They arrive right on time. There's a kind of peace that begins to fill your life when you stop fighting the timing and start flowing with it. When you start believing that even in delays, even in detours, there's purpose. That what's slow isn't stuck. That what's different isn't wrong. That what feels like a pause might actually be a preparation. We rush to the next chapter, not realizing that sometimes the current one is holding the key to everything we've been waiting for. And we miss it, not because it wasn't there, but because we were too busy trying to skip ahead. There's wisdom in the wait. There's transformation in the time it takes. And sometimes the biggest shifts in your life won't come through striving, but through stillness. Through the quiet decision to stop forcing and start flowing. To stop managing every detail and start trusting that the details are being handled, even if not by you. That kind of peace doesn't just show up one day. You choose it. You cultivate it. You protect it. So many of us live with this pressure to keep everything on track, as if missing a deadline means we've missed our destiny. But what if the timing you thought was delayed was actually divine? What if what you call a setback is really a setup for something better than you had planned? What if this season of waiting isn't punishment, but positioning? It changes the way you walk through it. It changes how you see yourself in the waiting. It allows you to show up without the pressure to perform, without the fear of falling behind, because falling behind assumes there's only one pace, one timeline, one path, but there isn't. Life isn't a race. It's a rhythm, and when you stop trying to sprint ahead, you start to hear it. The rhythm that says you're okay, you're on your way, you're not late. And when you hear that rhythm, really hear it, you stop comparing your timeline to everyone else's. You stop chasing what's not meant for you. You stop exhausting yourself trying to control what was never yours to carry, and that's where peace lives. Not in the perfect plan, but in the surrendered one. Not in the flawless execution, but in the faithful effort. Not in having all the answers, but in walking with confidence even when you don't, because life will surprise you. It will take turns you didn't anticipate. But if you let go of the need to control, you just might find yourself exactly where you need to be, at exactly the right time, with exactly what you need. And that kind of peace, that's something worth holding on to.